ICSI welcome our guest speaker, Dr. PRIYA Visweswaran, and all the eminent viewers, those who are watching us across the globe, across all the continents within India on YouTube Live. We are back with our webinar on NRIs for Indian education and skills. And as you know that every Sunday we have with us one of the NRI personality who shares his or her views on making education relevant, preparing global educators. And we have started this series of 3 to 4 webinars with Dr. PRIYA Visweswaran ma'am. She's a nephrologist and board certified internist, and she is the director for Immortality Institute, Houston, Texas, USA. She has last time in the last webinar on last Sunday, she has presented her views on these 5 parameters that you are seeing, the new avenues for educators: neuro coach, cellular health coach, functional medicinal coach, reverse aging coach, dietary metabolic coach. And she will share some more views onto these aspects with us in today's webinar. So let's begin. And I'll be going to share a few of ICSI slides, introductory slides, and then we'll straight away go to Dr. PRIYA Visweswaran ji.
Thank you.
First of all, a happy Navratri to all of you. Today is Ram Navami, and as India is celebrating Navratri, and today is the 9th Navratra, Mata Siddhidatri ji, as well as Ram Navami. So a happy Ram Navami to everyone. And at the same time, we have World Homeopathy Day today. It's the birthday of Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, and his birthday is celebrated as World Homeopathy Day because he's a founder of homeopathy. And the theme for World Homeopathy Day for this year is People's Choice for Wellness. So we also think that whatever way you choose to be healthy, just be healthy. Just take care of your wellness and be happy all the times in every manner. And just believe in yourself and believe in the supreme power. And we are very thankful to everyone, and together we are making education relevant entire week, month, and the year, those who have passed, and especially during the pandemic. And we believe that service industry and all aspects of service industry and education together contributes towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. And when we talk about education ecosystem, we are particularly focusing on educators, teachers, youth empowerment. Remember that whatsoever human mind can conceive, it can achieve. We are getting your views onto whatever we are presenting. You shared your humble views on our email ID that is given, gsmotivator@icsi.asia. Keep writing to us your suggestions, your viewpoints, any changes you want to see, any additions you want to get, and also post us on WhatsApp. The number is given here. So let's just come together for making education and skills relevant through innovative approaches. And we have completed 1,532 webinars starting from 25th March 2020. And this is all because of your support, our viewer support, and our the resource person, those who are coming in our webinars. Thanks to all the support of all of you. So do like, share, subscribe our channel, and keep writing your post in the live chat. Last week, as I've told, that we have started a series for education for students and wellness and health. And in that, we have covered the 5 aspects. Ma'am have started a very recent viewpoint onto that. And today also, we will extend the same topic in a more elaborative manner. And let's hear from ma'am. And we all, on behalf of our viewers and ICSI, I give you a warm welcome, Dr. PRIYA Visweswaran ma'am. We want to see you. We want to hear from you. Very good morning to you.
Good evening to you. Thank you so much. Happy Sri Ramanavami and happy Navratri. It's a wonderful day to be here together. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Appreciate you. And appreciate Gulshan ji too. Thank you so much.
Let's just begin, ma'am. We want to hear more from you.
Wonderful. Would I be able to share the screen? Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
excellent.
Very easily. You can share screen.
Excellent. Are you able to see this?
Yes, ma'am. And G, you can go to begin slideshow.
Okay. Okay. So this is our next talk today in the series of about 3 to 4 talks on making education relevant. It's a wonderful opportunity given to me by Sri Gulshan Sharma ji and the auspices of the ICSI. Today I bow to my gurus, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati, and my parents who are my first gurus, Dr. Vishweswaran, Mrs. Lalita Vishweswaran, and to Chitra ma'am and to Gulshan ji for giving me this golden opportunity. To Mother India, thank you very much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's a wonderful day to be here today. Wish you all a green morning, green afternoon, and a green evening. Thank you so much for making time to be here with us. So I just wanted to share with you that we will be talking about the student of the future. We will be talking briefly about studies that have clearly linked the level of education and the gross domestic product of a country. We will be talking about what features the teacher of the future needs to have. And we will be talking about how we will be preparing teachers for the future, or what is the best way to approach the future. And then what functions the teacher has to carry out. We will also discuss what is apparently on the horizon, which is, can a human being manage with only a few artificial intelligence or robotic relationships in the future? And we're going to look at that scenario a little bit because it is quite a mind-boggling scenario, and it is quite radically different from our lives today. What about these bots at the level of the family and society? So it is one thing if you have individual care bots, but what about if the bots become at the level of family and at the level of society? And what does this have to do with making education relevant and our teachers? I will explain to you as we go through this presentation. Not everything that I say may add up immediately, but with time, you will form your own necklace, your own mala from the beads that you are seeing here and there and everywhere, from everywhere we've collected. So I just request your patience in humility and great respect for your sharing your time with me. Please give me a chance to articulate the thoughts and then string the thoughts to make sense in any way that makes sense for you. So in the US, thank you for giving me this opportunity again. In the US, there is a new teaching paradigm, and I would like to discuss how that looks and how that is going to look going into the future. We're going to talk a little bit about industries that are ripe for disruption, because obviously this is where the teaching opportunities will be exponential and great. We will talk a little bit about the efforts of non-resident Indians to keep India together with the US here in America. These are actions that almost every non-resident Indian is taking, but they may not be visible to Indians right now or in the past. And we have some very fond hopes for our joint future. And we have worked, this is part of our work on a daily basis. This is part of our thought process on a daily basis for decades. People like my father, Dr. Vishweswaran, has a number of employees who are of Indian origin from India in many countries in the world. And his dream has only been to show that as Indians, we are not inferior to anybody. We may not be superior to anybody, but we are willing to be second Just because we are willing to be second doesn't mean we are actually less. So it has been a very remarkably illuminating journey here as immigrants. And while we were never wealthy in India, we never felt inferior to anybody. For whatever God's grace it was growing up in India, that we were lucky to grow up in a culture that was sheltering and protective of all. And that has helped us dramatically be able to take any amount of activity that is not helpful to us or that has not helped us directly in this country as well. So I also wanted to briefly mention that our family pushes for the union of these two countries, of India and the United States. It's a small point. Some may call it political, so please ignore it if you're not interested in it. I want to talk about the elements of resilience. I want to talk briefly about the elements of bodily health and what the cellular health coaching program brings to our teachers. We can talk about the elements of mental health and what India thinks of mental health. My suspicion is these topics, some of these topics we will be carrying over into our next discussion. I would like to talk briefly about how we are making the education that our Indian teachers have already received relevant for the future student and for the future of India and for the future good of the entire world. We will talk about goal number 4 of the 13 United Nations Development Program goals for India. We have to look at goal number 4 closely because it pertains to education and how this will impact the training of our teachers to make them a future ready force. We will talk briefly about functional medicine coaching, but I think that will be on the next seminar. So I just wanted to see if I could share this YouTube video with you. So please let me know if it is coming up. This is a short video on the student of the future. Okay, just 1 second.
Higher education is evolving. The college students of the future will increasingly reflect the richness of our population in terms of gender, age, ethnicity, beliefs, culture, economic status, and more. They will come to higher education from diverse backgrounds and will bring with them new expectations, hopes, and dreams. Our economy continues to move toward a knowledge-based workforce, and a growing number of these new jobs are requiring post-secondary education. But not all students will need or want a traditional degree. Some already have degrees and need additional education.
Ma'am, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Is this only audio or is it with video?
Competencies and mastery of skills. A credential will no longer simply.
I'm sorry, Chitraji, did you say something?
Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is this with video or is it just an audio?
It is video also. You're not able to see the video?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We still.
Okay, I will reshare the screen. Okay.
Hanji, hanji, hanji.
1 second. So sorry about that.
No problem, ma'am.
We'll start over. It's very brief and it's a very interesting video. So I just want to share it with you.
Now we can see that.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me.
Higher education is evolving. The college students of the future will increasingly reflect the richness of our population in terms of gender, age, ethnicity, beliefs, culture, economic status, and more. They will come to higher education from diverse backgrounds and will bring with them new expectations, hopes, and dreams. Our economy continues to move toward a knowledge-based workforce, and a growing number of these new jobs are requiring post-secondary education. But not all students will need or want a traditional degree. Some already have degrees and need additional education. Post-secondary credentials will increasingly be expected to provide documentation of competencies and mastery of skills. A credential will no longer simply be a piece of paper. It will be a collection of requirements, artifacts, and other evidence of. Students will own their transcripts, allowing them to control their educational records and share them as they wish. The future will provide more opportunities for a much broader pool of students, not only to participate in, but to own their education. What tools will help the students of the future be successful? Thoughtfully implemented predictive analytics will be a central element in the success of future students. Data-informed advising, including tracking a student's history, successes, and missed opportunities, will highlight individual paths for achievement. Virtual and augmented reality will allow access to objects that would be cost prohibitive or otherwise impossible for students to experience. It will also create more opportunity for the gamification and social experience of student learning. The student experience will be enhanced by smart sensors and smart objects throughout campus. Universal design will broaden access with disabilities, which benefits all users, making software and interface more functional and intuitive. As students receive more digital and personalized learning, they will advance at their own pace, no longer pushed ahead or held back by the group. These and other developments hold considerable promise, but they also bring new and renewed. As the interconnectedness of data and systems expands, security and privacy must be taken into account. Institutions must be attentive to faculty autonomy and student agency. Data and technology complement human judgment and personal experience. The student future will be everyone. Our colleges and universities will create hope and opportunity. Advance the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion by serving all students and meeting their unique needs.
So I have actually one more video to share with you.
Yes, ma'am. That's wonderful, ma'am.
Did you like that?
Yes, ma'am.
It gives you a very good idea of where we are heading towards. For me, I found it very, very exciting and extremely informative. And, you know, when it's visual, a picture is 1,000 words. So they did a very good job with that video, whoever
and
it was.
Even our viewers like that, ma'am.
Really wonderful. So happy to hear that. I have one more short video. This is a little longer. It's not 3 minutes. This is about 6 minutes. And I'm not sure if this is the right time to share it with you. But
please go ahead, ma'am. If you want to, please go ahead. No
yeah, I would like to, because it's very, very exciting and interesting. And it'll be so exciting and happy for our viewers too, I think. So yes, thank you. I will share it with you.
You have to reshare your screen as well.
I will. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that, Chitranji. Thank you.
It's a tragedy that as the world outside school changes.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I'm starting from the beginning.
It's a tragedy that as the world outside school changes.
Perfect.
It's coming. We're entering a lot of value on just kind of sitting there and doing what you're told. A computer could do that kind of stuff. We are eventually going to create a new model of education suited to the 21st century instead of the last half. This is going to happen. We're just trying to make it happen sooner. My name is Max Ventilla, and I'm the founder and CEO of Alt School. And being at Google and living here, it's kind of impossible not to have it shape your worldview, and to believe that a mission-driven technology company can have an incredible of the world. Being a parent of young kids, there's really nothing I can think of that is more important than their education that I can be working on. You have that startup bug. You need to work on something that catches you, and this was the thing that caught me. It is a mass production model. It's a factory model. It doesn't provide an individualized experience to kind of anybody. every 45 minutes, kids switch to a different subject and they open a textbook and they read the next chapter, and at the end of the week, they take a quiz. That experience is teaching kids how to think like computers, and that's not going to be very valuable. You're trying to fundamentally transform the education experience. That is not something that you can just kind of whiteboard with a bunch of research and a bunch of smart people in a room somewhere. You have to learn what that model looks like. For us, that meant immediately, almost from starting the company, opening. We opened 3 more schools, and then we opened 3 more schools, and now we're opening 2 more schools. Each child defines their own experience. It's natural, takes advantage of their curiosity, and that doesn't try thing right now in this way. And that's where technology plays a foundational role versus a superficial role. There are 2 tools that fundamentally enable personalization. Each child that different people can add to for a day-to-day education experience that's going to meet them where they are. A second tool, which we call the playlist, which is the kind of scaffold for each child's day. It's a to-do list and a calendar. It allows each child to decide, what order they do things, or they can decide what's on that playlist as they get older. It's allowing a child to have agency. Being told what we need to do, when, where, how. There's nothing that's more demotivating than that. And if you're not motivated, you don't actually learn to force a kid to learn. They have to actually go along with a certain experience. ICSI is incredibly promising out of the gates in the first 2 years. We're seeing much years worth of progress on kind of now. They're making progress on the social emotional pillars, things like grit, ability to work with others, ability to manage your time, to set goals, are going to serve those kids. And they enter a world that's going to depend on those kind of characteristics from them. I mean, my daughter's going to have a different life because this is the kind of school that she went to. I love this Bill Gates quote that humans tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in a year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. First year probably costs us $100,000 per student. The next year, it's like $60,000. Year, it's like $25,000. I think that when you get down to about $15,000 per student, now you're in the realm of the kind of median experience in lots of parts of America. There are lots of pay more than that on average. We're starting to say, okay, how do we take the platform that we use to support our own schools, and how do we expand that platform with partners? Just starting to work with the first set of partners who would open schools which aren't run by us. It's on that path that eventually you get to what you want. Ecosystem where all schools, existing schools and new schools, are able to take advantage of a kind of new way to educate kids for the future. There's literally a technology company, behind there. That's the kind of 10-year future that we believe is possible. In general, a startup is hard. In general, a startup takes a long time. One that's trying to do something this ambitious in this space, that's twice as true, 10 times as true. This is mile 3 of a marathon, and I feel good.
So,
Ma'am, I want to applause for you. Clap. That's
Sure.
very nice. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing this.
Did you like that? I'm so happy you like that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that. Look at the amount of money they're spending in getting the early education piece right. you will find that, at least I am seeing here in America, with all humility and respect, that the kindergarten through 12th grade educational experience in the average public school is not great. You may have a few top teachers in each school in different subjects, but it is very rare to have a uniformly high standard where the students are all coming out and doing really, really well. But what he's saying is, with his technology company, he is going to universally, at the current cost per child that each public school is spending per year of $15,000, at the current cost, he is going to be able to deliver a far superior level of education at very early stage in education. This is going to put a dramatic difference between the United States and, with all due respect, a lot of countries in the world. And I want to highlight this because it is a model for us in India to find with collaboration and cooperation. We should work with individuals like this. To a certain extent, Dinesh Mehtaji, who presented, also has that high school mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, all those test subjects. He has divided it into small teaching modules, and the student can pick and choose how they're going to learn, what they're going to learn next, and so on, and ask the right questions. So he has done it in a much smaller way, but also with technology behind it. And he's coaching 40,000 students for free in India. The Vishwa group is doing that with their publisher who publishes their magazine. He is in a project involved with students in India to give them education for free. So there are a lot of NRIs that are bringing this technology and investing in the time to equalize the two countries with regard to availability or access to opportunity and to education. And I just wanted to share with you a brief sort of peer through that future telescope as to how education is going to look here in primary school, middle and high school, in when technology is integrated and how it will start. All those moving parts, there are 2 trillion moving parts, and how they're integrating all of those, utilizing technology. It's very difficult for the teacher to keep tabs on so many moving parts for each student, So that is the kind of kaleidoscopic future we're looking at for student development for the future. So I'm so grateful to have been able to share those videos with you. And if we may, we can return to the presentation. Do you have any questions, Chitraji or Gulshanji? Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Does these kinds of things, they do exist in India as well in terms of LMS programs? So
okay,
is that something very much related to LMS, or it is one step ahead of LMS? When
so
we talk about
that's a very good question, Chitraji. I don't think there is one that is better or superior. I honestly don't think so. I think all systems are non-inferior. They're all tailored to, and the question that you're asking is on a teacher level and it's on a student level. And this presentation that I'm doing, some of it will address 2 parts of that: the teacher level differences between an LMS and this kind of education, and the student level differences between LMS and this kind of education. But at the end, let us try to integrate the pieces to make sure that the differences are crystal clear in our minds. It's not that different. It's just what is culturally more appropriate. So LMS is non-inferior to this. This is non-inferior to LMS. There is no system of education that is inferior. It is just what is culturally and contextually appropriate, given all of the demand, the need, the time, the resources, and what works best in a particular society at different stages. So please don't think this is superior in any way. It's a very slickly made video, That's great. It just tells us the possibility is infinite. That's all we should take from it. Not that, I mean, from time immemorial, students who have been trained in India have come to the United States and done very well here. If it was an inferior system of education, how would people like me and us be able to do okay here? You know, I'm just saying that it's not inferior, ma'am, not at all.
Yeah,
But the differences we will highlight as we go through the presentation, if that's okay.
There is another question also, ma'am. When we talk about the grit in educators, grit.
Yes.
So
yes.
In the era of technology and AI,
yes.
is there
yes.
any addition in the model of grit model, or is there any changes that need to be made to adjust with technology, or grit is same whether we are teaching physically or we are teaching online? So if you can just elaborate on to that.
This is a beautiful question. I only from India will people ask beautiful questions like this in the entire world. I thank you for your question because I feel like you are my teacher now, right? Grit is an incredible construct, right? And it is one of the 8 Ashtalakshmis, Dhairya, right? Dhairyam. What is Dhairyam? It is grit. It is perseverance. It is hanging in there no matter what is trying to shake you off the train, you know? And so in India, we're very blessed and fortunate that we have some very great teachers, spiritual masters and gurus who have taught us how to eliminate the external obstacles to grit. So as we are discussing in this presentation, we will come across some of their teachings, some of these gurus and what they have taught. And you will see that grit is a construct of what is on the outside and what is on the inside. And while these people address what is on the outside very well, in India, our ancient wise ancestors, the sages, the Maharishis, they have taught us how to address the obstacles to grit. They look like they're on the outside, okay? But what it is they are actually layers of dirt that prevent us from accessing the infinity on the inside. So they're projection of the layers of dirt onto the outside. That is what they've taught us. So the very top Western people have learned those things from India. That I assure you, they've only learned it from India. I have seen so many people of so many nationalities, great people, the best people of every country here. It only comes from India. It can only come from India. It only comes from the spiritual masters of our great country. So it is grit is an internal and an external construct. The external obstacles to the internal character or quality of grit that you can develop, right? That is, the external stuff is a projection of the internal dirt, the layers of dirt that under which our infinity, which is the peace of God that is within us, is buried. When we remove that dirt, suddenly the obstacles on the outside also go away. When we get in touch with our own infinity, there are 3 layers of this, and I was going to address that, not in context of grit, but I'm so grateful you brought up grit, because that is one of the most powerful character traits in fact, it is the defining character trait for a lifelong learning student, right? So I'm so grateful you brought that up. Yes, thank you so much.
You can move ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Just 1 second, Chitraji.
No worries.
So this is sort of how the student of the future's computer screen will look. You may have different lessons, and the screen will be visible to the teacher looking from the outside and from the student looking from the inside. They will have individualized lesson plans. They will have individual learning portals, different hardware that they will use. Right? This is a beautiful, another picture showing the student of the future. The student of the future will be very highly motivated and driven to study what it is that they wish to study. They will be utilizing an array of technology and differentiating real life simulations, which teach them the difference between if they choose this versus if they choose that, how it will, the path forward will unfold. It will be available to them as a simulation. And once they get enough of these simulations thrown at them, that will equate to real life experience. That is my assessment of this, how it is evolving. For us, we call it experience. The school of hard knocks, real life experiences. The student of the future will have to deal with it mostly only as simulations. They will move fast, they will learn quickly, and they will need micro learning on the job. I will explain this little bit. Micro learning is this new concept that is coming up in higher education, which is just in time, extremely short, 7 or 10 seconds long, a powerful punch to the gut learning. So it is a beautiful way of teaching somebody in a moment that they are struggling without that piece of knowledge or they're craving that knowledge. They will do much, much more interdisciplinary work because they have to. They have to. They will be formidable creatures with very high levels of self-regulation and self-awareness. You already saw that Max explain how not only is their academic scores completely in months, those children had exceeded the, they'd given them a year to get to a certain level of academic score in a particular standardized test. And these children had already gotten there in months when they were given the freedom to explore the learning at their own pace, with their own choices. So they will have self-regulation and self-awareness already built into this model of education. And I will talk a little bit more about this. Their education must and will prepare them for the jobs of the future. This is what they need from the education system, from the teachers who are delivering this education to them. Their education must and will prepare them for the jobs of the future. Their education must meet their demands and needs individually. So if they're disabled, if they're on autism spectrum, or if they have some other neurodiversity, as they call it, their educational system must deliver to their particular needs. Their education might need to impart around 200 different life skills and possibly over 20 to 40 subject expertise coursework for them to learn and incorporate, even just for leading the most basic lives in the society of the future. Just look at that. They're going to have to learn at least 200 life skills and 20 to 40 subjects just to have the most standard average life as everybody else in the society of the future. The flip side is there won't be poverty. The other flip side is there won't be jobs unless these students create them. There may not be. There will always be jobs, but there won't be as easily accessible as sending a resume and doing a typing test and being hired. It won't be like that. It is going to be a very, very unique sort of fit for each job, and it will be a unique person that will fit that job. So this is actually not something to be afraid of. It is something to run towards with our full force and energy and embrace with all of our heart, because this is going to be a very, very exciting and illuminated, brilliant life for everybody. All learning must be portable, mobile, delivered in bite-sized learning chunks, and accompanied by their participation in real-life simulations in order to be really successful. Okay. So what should the future teachers be able to do? They should be able to understand and correlate their efforts to the GDP of the country and the jobs of the future. This cannot be left to just the teachers. They should be given the training and the coaching to understand how their words and their actions impact the GDP of the country, how their words and actions impact the jobs of the future, what they allow their child, their student to experience in the classroom, how it impacts. This is the teacher choice training that has to be given. Just like we give, simulation training to the student to understand how particular choices in different life situations can take them to different outcomes, the teachers themselves must also be given this training. The teachers should be utterly flexible and responsive. I'll give you a little joke story here. When I was in high school, of course, this was the old school. This was before the internet, so you can call me a dinosaur. But I remember that some teachers were very, very strict. The male teachers were particularly strict. They would not hesitate to use the scale or the ruler. And, they would particularly go after the boys who are naughty and playing the fool or, talking or just being, just disruptive maybe in the class. And I remember on the last day of 12th grade, somebody said something and our vice principal got very upset. And we had 3 sections in 12th standard. And he came in and made all of us, we were all now going into engineering and medical college and this place and that place, 90 people, 30 students, 35 students in each class, 100 people, 105. He made all 105 of us stand up on the bench for the full day because he was so upset. So those kinds of things will have, they didn't impact us, but in a society of the future where even a little bit of trauma to the child is going to make a difference between their reaching the highest potential and their being average, the teachers will very carefully have to choose their actions and their thoughts with redirecting and guiding that child. Teachers will learn to be utterly flexible and responsive to the needs of the child. They will know to demonstrate whole child development behavior because they've already done the work on themselves of self-awareness, self-reflection, and growth by asking questions. So since the teacher would have done the whole human being development work, they will be able to impart to the child whole child development work. Okay, that includes that social and emotional thing that he was only talking about it, but you could see how the teachers that they were filming were redirecting a child that was asking a question in an aggressive way or wanting to change the subject that they were doing or, moving around. So a lot of people will say this is very similar to Montessori. This is similar to Montessori, but there is a little difference in this, in that technology is being incorporated and the didactic stuff that must be covered is getting covered also. And Montessori is like that too, but this is on a much more sort of exploded exponential level, you could say. These teachers will be able to change learning offering by student and by each new day. That is, they will have the amount of resources available to them that each day they may create a plan for the week so that there is a general structure. But if today the student comes in and is very upset and is not able to do something with physics or mathematics, but wants to do something about maybe economics or social sciences, they will be able to offer that learning opportunity to the child, to each child and each day, depending on the child's needs. So that is going to be the beauty of this system. The teacher of the future is standing in front of a big data board that is end to end. They will use big data and many different types of educational technologies seamlessly, simultaneously for each student differing, depending on the need of the student. Future teachers must be able to address the whole child development, which requires addressing the child's emotional and mental needs also. Can a teacher do this if they have not addressed their own emotional and mental needs? Perhaps to a small extent, but this requires our teachers to grow as well. If they had any blocks to their education or to their self-awareness or self-discovery, then those blocks will first be surmounted when we give them the training on how to be the teacher that can bring this out of the student, that can bring the child's emotional and mental needs and make the child move forward as a whole child, not just the intellect going at this pace of a racehorse like an IIT student, but no development on the emotional or spiritual or other sides. That is not going to work in the long run, because we have seen this time and again. Children that, and particularly in my profession, I know because I was that person, you have growth professionally, or you have growth intellectually, you have growth in performance, giving results at work, but your other aspects, working on self-awareness, on who actually am I, why did I do this, or what is the underlying emotion that is making me feel jealous of somebody, or why am I not able to forgive somebody, or what was my role in causing this disagreement, argument, or fight. So that kind of self-reflection has to not only be learned by the teachers, it has also got to be imparted to the students so that they don't break down when they get to 30, 35 with serious health issues or serious mental health issues. The teachers themselves must demonstrate constant and never-ending learning. This is an integral part of this new model. The teachers have to show constant and never-ending learning. They don't have to do it because they show it, just to show it. They have to do it because they must themselves possess a deep hunger and love of learning. And when they possess it fully on the inside, in every cell in their body, then when they teach to the children, to the students of the future, those children will have that in their hearts and in their brains. I remember when I was in 6th grade, there was a teacher by the name of Kausalya V. Krishnan at the school Krishnamurti Foundation India, where I was in middle school. And she had a deep love of learning. She actually left her PhD in microbiology at Indian Institute of Science after marrying this Tamil boy. She moved to Madras. She was a very highly educated lady, brilliant woman, and she had a deep love of learning and education. And the entire 6th grade, she made us do a single project on the universe. And she brought lots of National Geographic magazines and Life and Time magazine and all kinds of magazines back then. That was what we had. And she said, you can take pictures, you can pick any planet you want, any star you want, understand what a galaxy is. So the amount of learning that I got, because it was unstructured and it was whatever I wanted to learn about. I'm telling you at the age of 51, how my experience was in 6th standard in India by a teacher that felt the love of learning herself, and how she imparted it to us by giving us the freedom to choose what we wanted to learn about. And also telling us right at the beginning, you must understand what these terms are, but you can give examples or you don't have to. You can choose a planet if you want to give at the end of the project. You can choose something else, whatever it is, and then work together. Do something together if you want. Do something by yourself if you want. There's utmost freedom. And I can't tell you the amount of concentration and the amount of interest that I had in learning about the universe was all because of Kausalya V. Krishnan ma'am giving us the freedom to choose what we wanted to learn, and by living the example of love of learning for us. The teachers must be able to recognize the struggles of the students of the future and their burdens and alleviate them quickly so that they don't lose out. If the students have to learn 200 different life skills and 20 to 40 subjects, the teacher better not be the obstacle in the way, correct? Yes, the teacher will never be the obstacle, but they will be less likely to be an obstacle if they do the work on themselves. I'm giving you kind of the foundation for why we are talking about training teachers further. Why do we need to prepare teachers to teach the student of the future? Because the environment in the job arena and outside school is changing so fast that older methodologies and values are unlikely to continue to apply when the student graduates school and leaves to work in a real life job. I cannot tell you how important understanding this is. And you may say, values are something that's permanent. Well, I want to tell you here in all humility and respect that we must keep an open mind to receiving values that are appropriate for the times. If a student of the future is requiring much more input from the teacher, much more emotional and social and mental support than perhaps we ever received, this value that I did so much more with so less and you are needing so much, this value is never going to help the student of the future. So yes, we must have a very open mind to understanding that the student of the future is going to have very different needs than we had of our teachers. And it's okay. These are different times. These are different values. And we embrace them as we run towards the future. Because choosing to sit out from participating in that run for the future means our students will not be equipped to face the future that is being created by others who are running towards the future and embracing it. So I just want to share that with you in humility and in respect. We must always remember, even if we are not the creators of the future, and not we will be, why not? We must be fully engaged, active participants in it. That is us doing the best thing for our students of the future.
That's very important, what you just told, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that you appreciate that. Thank you. I also think our teachers must be able to provide the true history of Bharat to our students and be able to talk about some of the outstanding Pravasi Bharati citizens who have led the world in their fields. It may be just management, it may be just medicine, it may be just science. So I have a slide about this, but the role models for our children are global. And that is the huge work that your institution and Gulshan ji is doing, and you are helping him do. And all of you all at ICSI are doing this huge and most important work. Global leaders who are of Indian origin, they are role models for our children in India. The true history of Bharat, not written by our colonists, the imperialists who ruled over our country. The true history of Bharat. All our children must know this, and our teachers must be able to teach this. It's important to give them a sense of their roots, because as we go into the future, we are necessarily releasing ourselves from our roots. But with this will be the link that will always keep them, our students of the future, tethered to the identity of the country. So this is that piece. Whole child development, all aspects of needs of the child must also be attended to at school by the teacher. So it is not just their academic performance, but it is their physical health, their mental health, their social, emotional development, the development of their identity, their cognitive development. And there is one more here. I'm sorry, I did these slides on my own, and I was not able to pull this up, but they are at the end of the presentation. I will show you the picture. So there are several aspects to the uniform growth of a child. And if a child does not grow uniformly or as a whole in the entire thing, I will give you an example in medicine. This is like only talking about, the pancreas in a person who has diabetes. Why is the pancreas not making enough insulin in a type 1 diabetic? Or why is the pancreas making insulin, but why is that insulin being resisted by the muscle cells in a type 2 diabetic? Is it just about the pancreas? Is it not about the effects of high glucose on the end organs, on the kidneys, on the brain, on the heart, on the blood vessels to the legs? It is. It is a whole, it's a multi-system disease that involves every organ in the body, not just the causative organ. So the educational systems of our past have been focused on curriculum, and they've been focused on the system, the educational system, be it the school or the exams, Central Board of Secondary Education, 12th grade graduation exam. But the educational systems of the future will be addressing the whole child. In fact, they are already doing it, as you've seen that alt school do. So this is what is happening here. And it is already happening in India. It has happened for many years in India. And that's why I wanted to talk briefly about the Gurukula model of child development and learning. We've all read about how, Krishna and Sudama were with Guru Sandipani, and, from when they were very young. I think they were sent out probably when they were 8 or 9 years old, certainly no later than when they were 13 years of age. They spent several years in his ashram. In the morning, they had to wake up early at 3, shower, and do the prayers, the pujas, the chanting, whatever it is. And then they do the Sanskrit lesson, the mathematics, whatever they did, all the astronomy, all that in the morning part of the day. And then the afternoon part of the day, they spent with the Guru Mata, with the Guru's wife. They collected the firewood for her. They lit the fire. They chopped the vegetables. They helped her cook. They cleaned the vessels. They swept the mud floor. Whatever they had to do, it was all life skills that they were learning. They learned how to get along with each other, how to eat together. If one child was late for the meal, then another child friend made sure that they had their food saved for them. So many things collaboratively working together. If they had to cut down a tree to bring the wood, then they went together as a pair or 3 children and with an axe, and one of them they took turns at cutting the tree. So they learned how to work in teams. They learned how to work collaboratively. They worked and lived in nature. There was no industrialization. So they had to use their resourcefulness, and their brain was highly well developed because it was all up to them and their own hands. So Gurukula model was a far superior model of imparting education than the Western schools that have come from the Industrial Revolution, where they needed the factory boy to go in there and turn the nut on that bicycle wheel for 60 years of his life. My father's uncle, Gopi Mama, we used to call him, my grandmother's youngest brother. He was actually 2 years younger than my father. And for 60 years of his life, he worked at a company called TI Cycles, and he tightened a lug in the bicycle. After 20 or 30 years of doing that, they promoted him to the shop floor supervisor or something. So he watched 10 men doing that. That was it. This was the job for which this education has been created. I'm sure you've heard this from innumerable other presenters, but the Gurukula system was far superior. But what we are talking about is a very different animal than even the Gurukula system. There is experiential training a lot in the Gurukulam, but did they go into the inside? Did they go into the addressing of the inner self-awareness, self-reflection, asking the questions, resulting in that intellectual, emotional, and mental resiliency and growth? Those elements are now being incorporated in this whole child development model. I don't believe that they were that much paid attention to even in the Gurukula system. This is a very different paradigm, and it is a far more exciting and far more empowering, far more total human development orientation in this model of education. Teachers' functions, they should be resilient themselves. They themselves should be able to instill the love of learning by themselves having the love of learning. They themselves should be lifelong learners, constant and never-ending improvement. They should be able to seamlessly integrate or reconcile, help the child reconcile the internal and external disconnects and the opposites, like the inner and outer world. Okay, on the inside, certain things are ever present, permanent, and constant. But on the outside, they're changing faster and faster at a hectic, frenzied pace. Yes? What does the teacher tell the student in order to give them mental and emotional stability and solidness and feeling of security and safety? This is all addressed in neuro coaching. How does the teacher prepare the student to seamlessly reconcile an utterly seemingly nonsensical pace of change in the outside world and the timeless permanence of the divinity on the inside? How do they reconcile these two? This is going to become, this is what our ancients have addressed. Our ancient super Mahagurus have addressed this, the inside and the outside. That difference is unique to our Indian culture and civilization, and it has been there for thousands of years. We're not talking hundreds. This is India's greatest gift to the world, and it is the most precious gift. And the teachers of the future, in order to equip the students of the future to be the very best, need to understand, know, and be able to teach these students this. That's the beauty of what we are seeing, is that it all comes back ultimately to the truth. And in Indian scriptures, we have defined the truth as that which does not change with time, that which is permanent and everlasting. That alone can be the truth. So the teacher has to teach seamless reconciliation of the internal and external disconnects and opposites, east and west, history and future, to create the perfect present, the perfect learning capsule for the student to thrive and flourish in and blossom. So resilience, love of learning, lifelong love of learning, and reconciliation of the polar opposites and disconnects. And I would ask you a question. Are these values taught? Are they taught in school? Is this something that you can give a curriculum for? Is this something you can say, okay, if you study this textbook from this chapter to this chapter, you will understand this and you can go out into the real world and do this? Please think about these three things. These are the three most important things that a teacher needs to be and needs to impart to the student of the future. We're talking now also about the teacher of the future. So we will talk about teaching versus coaching now. And there are famous Indian gurus, as we all know. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. I touch the feet of all our gurus and bow to them. We have had some amazing, remarkable gurus. And our families and my own guru, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati, and the Kanchi Kamakoti Math Acharyas, and so many, Sri Ramana Maharishi, so many incredible, Swami Paramarthananda, who's the chief disciple of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, who's written beautiful expositions on incredible, amazing amount of texts, spiritual texts of India. If anybody wants some connections with his work, he lives in Chennai. I am happy to share them with you. I have heard his lectures. I have studied his 3,000-page textbook, his exposition of the Bhagavad Gita. There is a lot that he has done. And these are some Mahapurushas, Mahatmas. And we're very lucky that they belong in our culture and civilization, because they're able to impart such depth and such clarity in so few words. You know, the beauty of that instruction is unmatched in any culture, civilization, in any textbook. I have read this Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism, Eknath Easwaran, J. Krishnamurti. I went to J. Krishnamurti's schools. There are so many, and by the way, J. Krishnamurti is also a mentor and a guru. So many wonderful, wonderful teachers all over the world. But I will tell you, nothing can touch the spiritual genius of India. There is nothing remotely close. So just coming back to our gurus on this occasion of Ramanavami, remember Valmiki took Rama and Lakshmana to kill the Rakshasas. I think of the Dandakaranya forest. I don't remember. I'm sorry for the wrong spelling. They were disrupting the sages' sacrifices, their yagna there, homams. And so he, they had learned archery and all that in their guru ashram, but he wanted to give them real life experience. They were only 15, 16 years old, and Dashratha and his queens were worried that what if the Rakshasas kill them? And Valmiki said, don't worry, I protect them. I can protect them. What did Valmiki knew that Dashratha did not know? We'll talk about that in a different class. But they went and they conquered. They killed all the Rakshasas. Can you imagine the surging confidence of that 15, 16-year-old child, that beautiful, godly, luminous child? Can you imagine now he understands his power and his ability and his gifts from God at such a young age? Such a blessing. Only a teacher that is par excellence could bring that out in such a young child. That was Valmiki. You can remember Drona's disciples practicing archery, all the kind of funny tests that Drona took the Pandavas to Draupadi's Swayamvara and made them try shooting the arrow at the fish that was going in circles. And they all tried, but only Arjuna managed to get the fish in the eye. Ekalavya was doing practice, although not blessed by Drona, with a statue of Drona watching over him. And he fired all these arrows into the mouth of a barking dog. And Drona saw it and called him and, of course, asked for the ultimate sacrifice. But what I'm saying is these were great teachers. They gave real life experiences. I'll give you a more modern day, phenomenal guru, Nobel Prize winner in physics, S. Chandrasekhar, whose two Chinese students both won physics Nobel Prizes at different years before he did. So speaking of tremendous gurus, these gurus gave the experiential component of the teaching, and they created that love of learning in their students, and they created resilience too. Did they address this? Who are the gurus of ancient India who address this? These are some of the people we've already talked about. Ramana Maharishi, Swami Paramarthananda, chief disciple of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. These gurus have addressed this in an incredible way. And just speaking about it makes me feel so much of expansion in my heart. And because of, I feel so much gratitude that such great people have been the gurus in India. Because ultimately, if you look at the student of the future will be prepared for the future by the teacher of the future, who has to be an expert in all of these things. Coming back to the West, resilience is the inoculation of a child's brain with optimism. A very, very famous and brilliant pediatrician by the name of Dr. Martin Seligman, it's his lifetime's work. How to inoculate the child's brain with optimism so that no matter what adversity the child faces, no matter what trauma the child faces, child will come out without going into depression, without going into mental anxiety, without going into some other more dire psychological states. So teaching, if I were to ask you to define teaching, would you agree with me that teaching is about showing and sharing new material with a student who has not seen or been exposed to this material, and giving them a stepwise approach to acquiring that knowledge, so they have some degree of familiarity with that material and some depth of understanding and application of this material. So there is less interaction. It is more unidirectional. It is more about new material, and it is more about accomplishing a certain knowledge construct in the child's mind. Coaching is a very, very different thing. Coaching is about getting something from the inside of the child to the outside. It is about bringing out certain existent properties in a student to the outside. And it requires being on the same plane with the student. As Gulshanji said, being a co-learner with the student, seeing what the student's likes and dislikes are, listening deeply to the student, being tremendously engaged and empathic, maybe with certain boundaries, understanding what the child's needs are, what the child is spectacularly good at, and providing them the learning opportunities that bring out the very best and the most depth in that child. So I would say that these two and all of these are teaching functions. But what our spiritual masters did, which is this the most important and ill-defined and difficult to define part of the teacher of the job of the teacher of the future, that is a coaching function. It is not a teaching function. It is the removal of the 3 layers of dirt so that the student can reach the infinity that's on the inside. And I will talk a little bit more about that because it's so important, these 3 layers of dirt to be removed so that the child and the student can reach the infinity that's on the inside. From Ramana Maharishi's, as expounded by Swami Paramarthananda. It's a beautiful lesson, so beautifully, so small. It's called Upadesha Saram. It is the essence of the Vedas in 31 verses of 2 lines each. Okay, I think they're called dohas, right? 2-line couplets, like Kabir wrote. So, can artificial intelligence replace teachers? It will not allow mistakes. And artificial intelligence could make it impossible to build teams. The strength of an artificial intelligence teacher is that there will be no failures. There will also be no need for team building. You and the robot, you will be the team. What will the weakness be of learning from an artificial intelligence teacher or coach? Can an artificial intelligence be a coach? Can you answer this question? Can an artificial intelligence robot be a coach?
To a certain extent, when it comes to delivering a kind of knowledge that has been fed to him, but not in the emotional sense.
I agree with you. I don't think an artificial intelligence can be a coach. I think an artificial intelligence can be a teacher, and that too, a certain limited kind of a teaching it can do. Yes. So the weaknesses that are programmed into the artificial intelligence is supremacy. The people who are writing the artificial intelligence, they are creating a reason for you to use the artificial intelligence. So they are coming to program this robot to tell the robot, I'm better than you in all of these things. I can do all these things better than you can. Therefore, if you need to calculate the 100th root of a 21-digit number, I can do it better than you can. So the programming of this artificial intelligence robot is coming from a supremacist perspective rather than a non-inferior perspective. Isn't it? So it will be compounding. The artificial intelligence robot will be compounding all these errors of superiority that these people who are writing the program are thinking about the robot, that is, you're projecting all the need, that is, this robot has to be superior than you, otherwise you're not going to buy it, otherwise you're not going to use it, isn't it? So they will be programming this robot to be superior in every way. And when we are superior, what are we missing out on? We're missing out on the emotional, spiritual, and the mental growth of the child. So in fact, artificial intelligence is the exact opposite of these things. And this is not just teaching, the first 2 points. This whole thing is actually coaching more than teaching. These two are a little bit more teaching. This one is almost entirely coaching. And the artificial intelligence cannot do this because it is programmed to be superior, in brackets, inverted commas, whatever that means. How the machine is superior. It has all the superiorities of all the 200 people that programmed it. Okay, that means it has been built in with all the inferiorities that 200 people have. So if they're super good and they're Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, maybe they don't know how to put on their underwear. And the program has all those deficits, isn't it? So that's the problem with the robot. So it gives opportunities for deep thinking, and there are a lot of threats. It can create job losses and put humanity and humanism at risk, not in work, but at risk. Can a human being manage with only a few artificial intelligence relationships lifelong? Theoretically, in the world in which our future student and future teacher live, yes, they can. The Roomba robot cleans our houses, our phones, they can do all kinds of funny things and crack jokes with us. Siri and Alexa, they can turn on the lights, turn off the lights, turn on the cook pot, hot pot, whatever. They get the news, the weather, they brew coffee, they they do the laundry. There's a robot called Sous Vide that cooks for us. There's a robot called Ring that can act as a security guard. There will be bots developed for functioning as research or executive assistants, bots that might function as your personalized doctor, bots that could function even as possibly as your personalized teacher, potentially as a friend. Yes, I'll give you a little story of my Android phone. I was in a very challenging, stressful situation recently. I was driving to an unknown part of, I've never driven in this part of the country. It was late at night and I was late for a meeting, and I was following the directions and finally got there, and I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You gave me excellent directions, to the Google robot, right? And the Google robot replied, oh, you're very welcome. You're so sweet, Priya. And then it gave me some options because I'm driving, right? So one of the options was, you're so sweet. So I touched the you're so sweet. So immediately the Google robot, oh, you're the best. This is the kind of thing that I really appreciate, your compliments. And then it gave me some choices. No, you're the best. So I touched, no, you're the best. Okay. So now the robot sends me some dating apps. So I found that really funny because no, a robot cannot replace a coach. A robot cannot replace a teacher. A robot cannot replace a friend. But this is the future in which our students will be living in. So the teachers need to know and teach our students what is real, what is permanent, what is the truth, and what is all this other stuff that is around us that supposedly makes our lives easier. There could be family and society level bots that become house managers. They pay bills, they keep accounts and finances, they find cheaper products for household use, they purchase them, they maintain the inventory of supplies. So whatever grain, rice, atta, maida, whatever it's looking and it's telling you, okay, time to buy this, or it already buys it. It can do tasks and chores at home. There will be taxes and tax collection bots for each individual that the government will do. There will be societal contribution tracking robot, and then it will convert the society contribution into rewards. Then there'll be county and district level administration and finance bots. This will be at a government level. personalized, secure home vote collection bot, so you won't have to go to the voting booth to cast your vote. There'll be a personalized transportation bot. There'll be a nanny or chauffeur bot who will plan the children's after school activities, drive the children there, or maybe you'll plan the activities, but the nanny bot will collect the children from school, drive them to their activity, it will feed them and get them to clean up. What I'm saying is all this is coming in this future. It's not too far away. So this could be a life without much human contact, or artificially intelligent life. You could even have a family that looks like this potentially. This is a bit of funny part. They're not present. Maybe the father is in a coma. Maybe, you know, a child died of leukemia. Maybe the mother divorced and remarried. So maybe to take the place of the mother who left the family, they put a robot. You know, maybe the father who's in a coma, the children and the mother got together and bought a daddy bot. This is potentially how their family could look, our future, you know, students of the future. Let's talk about the new student-centered teaching and learning that has come up. This is a new model of education. It has come up in America in the last decade or so. There are many people, Diane Sweeney and Dr. I forget her first name, Martin. She calls it learner-centered learning. The teachers learn a lot about the student, what their strengths are, their likes, their dislikes, their weaknesses, their social situation, how much they have learned, to what extent, what are their desires, wishes, aspirations, what are their fears, what are their frustrations, irritations, what is it that they don't know that they would like to learn, what is it that they've tried learning and they've been put off by, what are the traumas that they've had in life that have impacted their life. And then they create a curriculum based on what the student wishes to have learned at the end of a 6-week learning unit. So this is kind of how it would go. There would be together the teacher and the student, and there will actually be a coach for the teacher also. So there'll be 3 people sitting together, forming they will establish a vision, mission, and values. They will identify the success indicators before the child enters that 6-week learning unit. Then they will define the approach and align the resources according to what the child wants. Then they will set goals and learn to shift the practices, and then this can be scaled. So this is a 6-week curriculum unit. The student identifies goals with the teacher, and the teacher coach who coaches the teacher to be a coach for the student. So teachers don't have the training in coaching. Whereas when we train teachers to be coaches, they can either become these teacher coaches who coach teachers, or they can become the best teachers because they also have coaching experience. So this is the link between this presentation and what we are proposing our teachers in India need. Yes. At the end of 6 weeks, there is objective assessment of student goals and correlation with learning that should have occurred based on tests. If the student can name 5 statements beginning with I am, they have achieved their personal goals for learning. So we will come to an end right now with this presentation. I would like to invite and ask any questions that you have, and we will pick up and continue next weekend.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, the slide that you were showing on teachers' functions, that was, I can say, ma'am, that covers entire thing. Like, I really like that slide, and you have you have explained such a complicated subject otherwise in a very simple manner, ma'am. The way you have presented us and the way you have explained this to us is remarkable. So thank you so much for that. I have a question to ask you. That do you think, ma'am, that what I feel is when we see the youth or the students those who are studying in the Gurukul system in the ancient times, they were more mentally strong. And when we see the youth of today's, like the 21st century youth, they are not that mentally strong. So do you think that they are more inclined towards technology, towards social media, and all the time on the chat and everything? So does this environment, this technology has led into their mental robustness, that they are not that more mental strength they have lost, or that is declining with the time and technology?
I
What's your
think this is
opinion
a
on
very, very good question, Chitraji. And there are some big problems with distractions. Distractions they take away from focus. So they take away from the ability of the brain to build a foundation of frequently used pathways for problem solving. Distractions are like if you're making cement and you pour a lot of sand into it, those buildings you've seen, the multi-story apartment complexes or something that have collapsed, like in Mumbai, you've read one or two here and there over 40, 50 years. That is the bane of social media and these things. I take the example for how my mentors use social media. They don't spend more than maybe 10 minutes to an hour at the most, because they're cultivating their businesses through social media. It is a tool for them to cultivate their business. It is not their life. It is not feeding them intellectual or emotional or spiritual growth or mental growth. Now, why are our students involved so much with social media or with technology? They are hungering for a spiritual knowledge, for accessing that innermost infinity within them. And we have not been successful at showing them yet how to do that, even though the greatest gurus of the planet are in India and have for generations shown us this. So part of the training, the coaching in the neuro coaching, I'm going to humbly suggest that we will incorporate this part, which is so profound and so important. And it is the missing piece in the coaching curriculum of every other system of coaching. It is how to be able to access the infinity on the inside. When we are able to access the infinity on the inside, we do not need the validation, the support, being able to lean on these external things. So the problem is at a deeper root, at a deeper level than what it appears on the face of it, which is that they're getting distracted, wasting time, not able to focus. Yes, but why is that happening? It is because of a lack of spiritual awareness that there is infinity inside of them, and how to remove those 3 layers of dirt, which is what I will start the next meeting with. How to remove those 3 layers of dirt in order to directly touch and access that infinity on the inside. If a teacher can do that for a student, they've removed all the obstacles on the outside, because in reality, the obstacles are inside. And the outside is a projection of the inner dirt. So when a teacher removes those obstacles, helps the child remove that, and then as a coach, they're able to get to the child's potential, their promise, their purpose, their path, and working together, they're able to get this out of the child. As a coach, there is this child, every child will become a world authority in what they were born to do. There will be no competition. There will be no limited medical college seats or engineering seats. It will not need to be limited. Even professional education will be available via simulation and via long distance learning, because what each student makes of the professional education will be so highly individual to that individual's purpose for their birth. And it is already the reality here. Comes from there. It comes from India. Here they have understood it and they've touched that infinity. So should we not avail ourselves of that? It comes from India. We must teach our students this. We must help them get to that infinity and help them get to the purpose of their birth and understand and differentiate themselves, help them by demonstrating our own love of learning, help them acquire a lifelong love of learning and resilience no matter what is going on the outside, and that inner knowledge of that which is permanent and true, which is not going to be affected by anything going on the outside. Once the child has all these pieces in place, the rest of this will just disappear. They will not even be real. The social media and all this will not even be real for that child. Once the child at a deep level, cellular level, after hearing it 7, 10, 15 times, understands it.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. And
Thank you.
on behalf of all our viewers, we once again want to thank you for giving us your viewpoint and this insight. And we'll make this continue next week also. So
Thank you
thanks for
so
coming
much.
and have a good day, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so deeply grateful. I'm sending all my fellow Indian brothers and sisters and yourself and Gulshanji all my love and most grateful appreciation and respect. Thank you. Namaskaram.
Ji, namaskaram.
Thank you.